The rain hammered against the windows of my small apartment in Seattle, mirroring the storm raging inside me. Casper, a 43-year-old software engineer, had always prided myself on my logic, my ability to solve problems with a calm, rational mind. But nothing could have prepared me for the problem that had landed in my lap, a problem that threatened to unravel everything I held dear. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. My wife, Isolde, a vibrant and ambitious marketing executive, had always been driven, but lately, her ambition seemed to have taken on a frenetic edge. Late nights at the office became more frequent, business trips extended, and her explanations grew increasingly vague. I brushed it off, attributing it to the pressures of her demanding job, but a nagging unease persisted, a whisper of doubt that I couldn't quite silence. One evening, while Isolde was supposedly at a conference in Portland, I decided to surprise her with a home-cooked meal, her favorite lasagna. I knew she'd be exhausted when she got back, and I wanted to do something nice for her. But as I scrolled through her calendar to confirm her arrival time, I stumbled upon something that stopped me dead in my tracks. A meeting, marked simply as Project Phoenix, scheduled for that very afternoon at a small, upscale hotel downtown. The attendees: Isolde and a name I didn't recognize. Lorcan Vance. My heart pounded in my chest, a cold dread creeping into my soul. I tried to rationalize it, to find a logical explanation. Perhaps it was a client meeting, a secret project she hadn't wanted to discuss yet. But the gnawing feeling in my gut wouldn't let me rest. I had to know the truth. Driven by a desperate need to understand, I drove downtown, the rain blurring the city lights into distorted streaks. I parked across the street from the hotel, my hands trembling as I watched the entrance. And then I saw them. Isolde laughing, her hand resting lightly on Lorcan's arm as they emerged from the hotel. They stood for a moment under the awning, their faces close, before he hailed a cab and they drove off. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. My breath caught in my throat, and a wave of nausea washed over me. I couldn't believe what I had just witnessed. My Isolde, the woman I had loved and trusted for 15 years, was betraying me. The next few days were a blur of shock, anger, and disbelief. I couldn't bring myself to confront Isolde directly. I needed time to process, to gather my thoughts, to figure out what to do. I replayed the scene in my head 1,000 times, searching for some explanation, some justification, but finding none. I started to notice other things, things I had previously overlooked. The expensive new jewelry she'd been wearing, the frequent texts she'd been sending and receiving, the way she'd flinch when I touched her. Each detail was like a fresh wound, deepening the pain and solidifying the truth. Finally, I decided I couldn't live with the uncertainty any longer. I needed answers. I hired a private investigator, a discreet and professional woman named Saoirse, to dig into Isolde's activities. Saoirse was efficient and thorough, and within a week she presented me with a file full of damning evidence, photos, emails, and phone records that confirmed my worst fears. Isolde had been having an affair with Lorcan Vance for months. He was a senior partner at her firm, a charismatic and ruthless man with a reputation for sleeping his way to the top. The evidence was irrefutable, the betrayal undeniable. The anger that had been simmering inside me finally boiled over. I felt like a volcano about to erupt, my emotions raw and untamed. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to destroy everything in my path. But I knew that wouldn't solve anything. I needed to be smart, to be strategic. I waited for Isolde to come home from work, my heart pounding with a mixture of rage and sorrow. When she walked through the door, her face bright and cheerful, I felt a surge of resentment so intense it almost choked me. "Hey, honey, I'm home," she called out, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. "We need to talk," I said, my voice cold and flat. Isolde's smile faltered. "What's wrong?" she asked, her eyes narrowing slightly. I didn't answer. Instead, I walked over to the coffee table and placed the investigator's file in front of her. Isolde stared at it, her face paling as she recognized the logo of the investigation firm. "What is this?" she stammered, her voice trembling. "Open it," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. Isolde hesitated for a moment, then slowly reached for the file. As she flipped through the pages, her eyes widened in horror. The color drained from her face and she began to shake. "Casper, I can explain," she pleaded, her voice cracking. "Explain what, Isolde? Explain how you've been lying to me for months. Explain how you've been betraying me with your boss. Explain how you've been making a fool of me." I challenged, my voice rising with each question. Isolde burst into tears, her body racked with sobs. "It just happened," she cried. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was a mistake." "A mistake," I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "A months-long affair is a mistake. You think I'm that stupid, Isolde? I was stressed at work," she said, grasping at straws. "Lorcan was supportive. He understood what I was going through. It just happened so because you were stressed, you decided to cheat on me. Is that your excuse?" I asked, my voice incredulous. Isolde didn't answer. She just sat there, sobbing, her face buried in her hands. "I want you out," I said, my voice firm. "I want you out of this house, out of my life. I'm filing for divorce." Isolde looked up, her eyes wide with shock. "Casper, please don't do this," she begged. "I'm sorry. I'll do anything to make it up to you. It's too late, Isolde," I said, my voice cold and final. "You've broken my trust and I can never forgive you for that." Isolde left that night, taking only a suitcase of clothes. As I watched her drive away, I felt a strange mix of emotions: anger, sadness, relief. The pain was still there, a dull ache in my chest, but there was also a sense of liberation, a feeling that I was finally free from the lies and deceit. The divorce was messy and acrimonious. Isolde fought me every step of the way, trying to take as much as she could. But I was determined to protect myself, to ensure that she didn't get away with what she had done. I hired a good lawyer, a sharp and ruthless woman named Meredith, who helped me navigate the legal complexities and secure a fair settlement. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I learned more about Lorcan Vance. He was a serial philanderer, a man who preyed on vulnerable women in the workplace. He had a string of affairs behind him, each one leaving a trail of broken hearts and shattered lives. I realized that Isolde was just another victim in his game, another pawn in his quest for power and control. I decided that I couldn't let him get away with it. I contacted some of Lorcan's other victims, women who had been hurt and betrayed by him. Together, we compiled a dossier of evidence, documenting his abusive behavior and his unethical business practices. We presented our findings to the company's board of directors, demanding that he be held accountable for his actions. The board launched an investigation, and Lorcan Vance was eventually fired for misconduct. His reputation was ruined, his career in tatters. He had finally paid the price for his deceit and manipulation. As for Isolde, she was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. She had lost her husband, her career, and her reputation. She was alone and isolated, ostracized by her friends and colleagues. I didn't take any pleasure in her suffering, but I couldn't deny that she had brought it upon herself. In the end, I emerged from the wreckage stronger and wiser. I had learned a valuable lesson about trust, betrayal, and the importance of standing up for oneself. I had lost my marriage, but I had gained something even more precious: my self-respect. It took time, but eventually I healed. I started dating again, cautiously at first, but eventually I met someone who truly appreciated me for who I was. Her name was Aisling, and she was kind, compassionate, and honest. With Aisling, I found the love and happiness that I had thought I had lost forever. The rain still falls in Seattle, but now it doesn't feel like a reflection of the storm inside me. It's just rain, a reminder of the past, but also a promise of a brighter future.